Welcome, guys. Everyone who's here. I see Enlifted Coaches on here. This is awesome. We're going to have some O23 coaches coming in too. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Kimberly. Great to have you here. And we have Brian Costello, who is the founder of O23 Holistic Health Coaching Systems, and Jordan, who's part of their team. And we are going to set you guys up today with an awesome presentation that Brian's team does as an intro to the O23 Holistic Health Coaching program and certification. So I met Brian through Mark England, and Mark and Brian, I'm sure how you guys actually initially connected, but Mark and I went to a workshop that Brian hosted here in Richmond about a month ago or a month and a half ago now. And I'm a health coach myself. I love talking about holistic health coaching. I love talking about all the aspects of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health. And after spending about 30 minutes listening to Brian, I was like, this is the best way I've ever seen somebody present this to me before. And I've been health coaching for about 5 years. The way that the O23 team has simplified down what it is to provide holistic health coaching, and even taking those big words of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and taking it into what are we doing? What are we thinking? How are we feeling? How are we being is amazing. It was a mind-blowing shift for me. You guys know I like words. We like words over here. And we wanted to share this info with the Enlifted community and then invite along some of the O23 coaches as well, because this is a really cool way to simplify holistic health coaching, make it a little less daunting, and integrate it into whatever your line of specialty in health coaching is. So I think you'll find a lot of what Brian presents today to be really congruent with the Enlifted method. We want to be able to get coaches in the Enlifted community access to more people like this who can help improve further education, give you different perspectives, and enjoy it, guys. So Brian, Jordan, you guys are up. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing with us. And if you guys have questions at any point along the way, put them in the chat and let's interact. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, Kimberly. That was a really great introduction. Really means a lot to hear those words coming from you now that you've experienced the seminar and even the level 1 course and being able to get familiar with yourself. So I really, with our stuff. So I really appreciate you making this all happen. And just to answer your question, Mark and I've actually known Mark just like not real well, but my initial interactions with him, we podcasted together a little bit. I took the original vocabulary course. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. And then I actually beta tested the first version of the Enlifted course as well, back when it first came about. So I'm very familiar with all the language stuff here. You'll see how heavily we emphasize how we communicate around these topics and the words that we use and don't use in a lot of ways. And I'll share, we'll get into that in just a moment here. Kind of funny, slightly frustrating. They just, all of a sudden, there's 2 people standing outside my door with leaf blowers and like yelling and talking over each other.
My landscapers are here too.
It's usually really quiet here. And I'm like, I don't know why they just showed up. I think it'll be all right, but I apologize for that. But anyway, real fast, I'm going to drop a sign-in document into the chat. Some of you are on here already. If you reach out to us via Instagram, others are not. Don't have to jump on there right now, but at some point, just quickly drop your name on there and we'll make sure you get the recording of this as well. There's a spot to note if you need the recording specifically. There's also a spot to note if you would like to request a personal call at any point, something jumps out to you want to talk about, or if you have to leave early and miss the end and want to talk some things through about this work, please just check that little box and we'll reach out to you. And one of the reasons I say that is because at the end, I'm actually going to have a pretty big announcement here. This is going to be the first time we've announced it publicly to this group. So it's something I'm really excited about. And I think a lot of you will be excited about as well. So hang on to the end there for that. And yeah, let's rock out. The other thing is we are going to be picking up from the YouTube video. There go the leaf blowers. We're going to be picking up from the YouTube video that was sent out. If you didn't get a chance to catch it, not the end of the world. You'll totally be fine following along today, but I'm going to drop that in here as well for you to bookmark and go back and check out. It kind of introduces a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, my story and things like that. We're going to do a quick recap and then we're going to go. So I'm going to, well, I'll share my screen in a second, but first I'm going to start by just giving you the big picture overview. So at O23 Holistic Systems, we work primarily with fitness coaches, health and fitness coaches, but normally people who are in gyms and helping clients in that capacity. And we help them connect the physical side of this, of the game, really, of fitness, to the mental, emotional, and even the spiritual sides. And we help them do that all without leaving the scope of fitness, without keeping it within the scope of fitness and what can be done in that coach-client relationship in a gym setting, so they can play a much more meaningful role in the lives of their clients and really in the healing of our society as in general, because we're all essentially facing the same everyday lifestyle challenges in our world right now, and most people are losing them, or many of them. And once they step out of the gym, in a lot of cases, they're on their own, and the fitness professional can play a much more meaningful role. Like I said, all within that scope of fitness, and feel like they really have a voice and are playing or becoming a factor in turning the health of our society around. So the YouTube video has my longer version backstory, but one quick thing I'll share is that I started having this desire when I owned a gym that my clients just needed more. I wanted to provide more, but I was just like completely lost on what it would look like, how to approach it, what would, where would the lines be drawn on these types of relationships and all that stuff. But anyway, I started pursuing this and deciding that was going to be my mission, is to figure out how to bring these concepts to the fitness world. And I just had this feeling inside that there were other coaches out there who were feeling the same things. And now it took a few years to really get our word out and start to attract the people that are also feeling that way. But now they're showing up out of the woodworks, essentially, because we're hearing the same things over and over, is that, yes, this is what my clients need. Yes, this is what I want to be able to help with more. And it's just general enthusiasm around taking fitness further has never been higher, as far as I can see. A couple of things we're noticing, though, is that the desire is there in most cases. Most of the shares we'll get from coaches are like, I really want to, I know this is what they need, but I'm not quite clear exactly on how I would do it, what it would look like, how to implement it into my business, and all that stuff. And a lot of coaches too are also in, like, I have knowledge in the, to an extent. I have some tips and tricks and hacks and things that I can share, but I don't really have like a professional level service to offer with structure and systems and sequence and all that kind of stuff as well. So those, that being said, that's where we come and help fill those holes and gaps and provide coaches with the tools to do those things streamline, seamlessly and effectively in their business. So that's where I'm going to pick up the conversation today. If anyone has any questions, you can just kind of call out or chime in at any time. I'm going to start sharing my screen, so I won't be able to see everybody. But oh shoot, hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry. 1 second. All right. And now we're good. Sorry about that. All right. So, so anyway, that's where we're going to start. Normalize this little cover sheet, normalize thriving. That's our little hashtag here. What we believe, if you caught that initial video, that everybody is meant to feel amazing and just enjoy life in elevated states of physical and emotional well-being. And we want that to be normal. And we believe it is normal under the right circumstances. But anyway, so just to pick up where I left off there. So what we're doing, our mission is to help coaches connect the physical side, like I said, to the mental, emotional, and even the spiritual, and also provide clear structure and systems to expand the service beyond the walls of the gym in a professional manner. We're also helping coaches build a foundation as a high-level health professional that can be built on forever. So once you kind of step out of the gym walls, it opens up these doors to all new areas and different realms that we can follow and chase and let our heart guide us towards what areas we want to dive in deeper. And then really what we're also doing, and you'll start to see a little bit of this today, but is we are really changing the way that these concepts, that health concepts, are taught and understood in the fitness industry forever. And you'll see that most of what we do, our approach, is either different or completely opposite of what most fitness professionals are doing. So yeah, that's where we're gonna get down and start today. So quick review, like we just said, these words: physical to mental, emotional, and spiritual. Like Kimberly mentioned, a lot of times we can get a little uneasy about some of these words, like mental, emotional. I'm not a therapist or a counselor or a spiritual stuff. Is that like, I don't know, like sometimes that stuff gets kind of weird. I don't know. Is that my thing? Am I supposed to? Am I allowed to? Should I? And what we encourage, we just like to remind people of, fitness coaches, that even though so for example, the example I like to use is that in the fitness realm, in the physical side, we can help people with things like their heart health without being a cardiologist necessarily, or their joint health without being an orthopedic, right? So we're helping with physical components of health without having to be a specializing in solving like disease in these types of areas, right? So same thing on the mental emotional side. We can help people with these components, the mental and emotional components of fitness, without necessarily claiming to solve mental and emotional disorders, right? Clinical level disorders and things like that. So it's the same concept there. And when we break it down even further, because I know you guys love language, I like to connect these words to the physical being the doing, the mental being the thinking, emotional being the feeling, and spiritual being the being, right? So most coaches feel confident in being able to help people do better, think better, feel better, and just overall be better. And when we distill it down like that, it feels much more digestible and something that most will feel confident in. And we'll do it all by helping people take actionable steps in 4 main categories, which are food, sleep, movement, and mindset. So again, it is fitness, but within these 4 categories and these 4 practices we're going to talk about today, we can help them understand and start to realize that these practices have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual components to them, so they can start to have a more holistic transformation. Okay. So real quick question. I'm curious here. I can't see everybody. Actually, one quick other slide. So in the physical side, the goal is strength and balance. On the mental side, clear, focus. Emotional side, happy, calm. And spiritual side, centered, connected, right? Aligned, things like that. So these are words that all, I believe, should be very common understandings within the fitness space, and that we want to equip coaches with the confidence to help people with. So I wanted to ask, who here, can I see, is there a way to see it? Who here works in the fitness realm, with fitness in some capacity with clients? Cool. I'm just trying to get a quick head count. I skim through. Awesome. Just give me some nods or thumbs ups if this makes sense to you guys, what I mentioned here, these last few slides. Yeah? Awesome. Cool. Again, if you have questions, you can stop me. You may have to call out or whatever, because I can't really see everybody. But anyway, I know most of that was review for those that did catch the YouTube video. So I want to get moving into the new stuff. So our objectives for today are: 1, to create fundamental perspective shifts in the realm of holistic lifestyle. So you guys that are on here today and working with the Enlifted group, I know that you guys are higher level coaches, right? And because of that, I know that you'll be able to take new concepts and new perspectives and apply them pretty easily. So we're going to spend most of our time there, but I also want to have you walk away with practical tools to use right away for yourselves and your clients. Okay. So you don't have to try to figure out what to do with this new information. We're going to introduce a lot of new concepts and then also give you things to run with. And we want to, again, just create a new outlook on lifestyle coaching as a professional service, right? This isn't necessarily something we just add on or have kind of like this, lower level check-in kind of format. This is real coaching, and we solve real problems in this realm, okay? So when we work with clients and our coaches too that come through our program, we're always going to be talking about a goal of transformation. Now, back to words. This is a word in the fitness industry that I believe gets misused quite a bit. In many cases, we'll use this word just to talk about weight loss or strength gain or whatever, where I don't necessarily believe that that is always means a full transformation. Because if somebody can basically come back from that or fall off from that or lose it, they haven't truly really transformed. When we truly really transform as a person, you can't really come back, right? So in order to reach real transformation, there's two main things we need. We need changes in behaviors first, right? Well, not first actually, but everybody knows this part. We need to change the things that we're doing in order to have a different outcome. But the changes in behaviors have to be driven by changes in beliefs about these behaviors, right? So the behaviors are obviously, I do things differently. I'm changing the way I live. But the beliefs help us do things differently because we see things differently, because we understand things differently. And that shift in perspective is driving these behaviors and transforming me into a new person. So like I talked about today, we're going to be focusing a lot on changing the beliefs, because if we just hand people a behavior change, if we say, hey, do this, don't do that, follow this plan, follow these instructions, don't miss a day, I'll check in on Friday or whatever. We're robbing them of the opportunity to really understand things differently and have these kind of feel the shifts inside themselves in their beliefs and in their perspectives, and allow that to drive their change. Otherwise, they're just changing because the coach told them to, doing things different because that's what the plan said. Okay. So how do we do it? How do we create this level of transformation? We focus on what we call the foundational four. And these four, these are the four lifestyle practices, foundational four lifestyle practices. And the reason we use the term practice is because we're going to get to go out and we practice these things every day. But the reason we use these four is because everybody, me, you, your clients, everybody on earth, essentially, already has these four practices. They already eat, they already sleep, they already move, they already think to some extent. They're already doing these things. It may be completely unconscious right now, but they're already doing it. And when we can focus on these things that they're already doing, it's not adding extra and more and like having them do all these new stuff. It's taking what they're already doing and enhancing it. The thing about this too is that these practices don't disappear when life gets busy or stressful or you're on vacation or whatever other, insert excuse, reason. We're doing these things all the time. So every day is a chance to go out and practice these things and get better and better and improve, because we're going to do them every day until the day we die. So these are our foundational four lifestyle practices. And this is where we're going to be focusing most of our conversation today. But that word practice, I want to take another moment here first to emphasize, because we truly want to embody a practice mentality. Okay. And that's basically the opposite of a diet or a challenge or a 6 week, 8 week, whatever it may be. The idea is to adopt this practice mentality, like we said, every day is a chance to go out and learn. And when we do this, we're reminding ourselves that yes, we actually have to practice eating better, sleeping better, moving better, thinking better. We have to practice doing them better. We have to practice doing them better than the version that we can do now. And it's going to take endless refinement of the basics and coming back to the basics over and over. It's also going to require a lot of screwing up to learn, right? I was just writing a post for next week. I was saying every inch of growth takes a mile of mistakes. We have to go out and try these things and screw it up. Go out to the day with a plan, come back and be like, well, that went to crap. What worked, what didn't, what should I have done different? What can I do differently tomorrow? Just like learning any other practice, if you're golf or whatever, you're going to screw it up 9 out of 10 times. Then it gets to, 7 out of 10, then 5 out of 10, then 3 out of 10. Then next thing you know, 9 out of 10 times you're succeeding, right? And through that practice mentality and even the screwing up is where we have fun. And I'm going to guess if anyone here has ever succeeded in any sort of sport or anything that required a lot of practice, the practice itself had, a strong element of fun and play in their life. Otherwise, they probably would not have made it that far and succeeded. So we have to make it clear for our clients we have to help them adopt this mentality. The second part of it requires promise. And this is really important because when somebody in the fitness spaces is so common, enrolls or decides like, okay, a 6-week challenge or diet or whatever, okay, I'll do it. I'll commit to that. I can try it. I'm going to go for it. In many cases, they are committing to the thing, but they aren't fully committing to themselves. And then what will happen is if they don't get the results they want, or they get the results, but then they fall off or whatever, they'll end up saying, I tried that, but it didn't work. And they are now deferring the ownership. They're not fully accepting the ownership. They're kind of saying that didn't work, not I didn't get the job done or do what I needed to do. So with a practice mentality, a lot of times it could be, hey, trying paleo for a certain amount of time, or plant-based, or keto, or whatever, and all these things. But then we're taking what we learn, taking what works and holding it, discarding what didn't work, and evolving the practice and trying and continuing to try more and more things until until we're experiencing the results that we want. That's the promise to ourselves. There's no end date. There's no time deadline. I'm taking full ownership of getting myself to the place I want to be, no matter how long it takes, and no matter what I have to do. Okay. So, does that make sense to everybody? Any thoughts or questions on that part there? No? So back to the practice, and as we develop these practices, they really require two main things, because like I mentioned, they're already doing these things every day, right? So instead of having to start from scratch, what we're doing instead is helping them add two main ingredients to their daily practices. The first is intention, and the second is intuition. So we start to talk about all the daily habits, patterns, and routines in their life and ask them, like, what is the intention behind these things? What is the purpose of them, and what is the payoff that you can expect? And eventually we start to work towards a lifestyle that all of the things in our life are easy and clear to explain. This is the intention behind why I do these things. This is the purpose. This is the payoff. I do this for me. I do this for a reason. And then the intuition is bringing an awareness to it, of reflecting and asking ourselves, did that make me feel good or not? Did that bring me closer to my goals or not? Should I continue that? Should I alter it and adapt, or should I scratch it all together and try something new? So I'm always, this bringing us awareness and adaptation. And we have this principle ABCD, always be connecting dots. So I'm always connecting the dots between what I'm doing, the intention I'm putting into it, and then the results that I'm getting. And so what it looks like in very simple terms is like, before an action, it's just, what's the purpose of this, and what payoff can I expect? And then afterwards is, how did it make me feel, and what can I do differently? And the thing is, as we start to fall into a groove and a rhythm and a flow, we don't have to even do this all that much. It just starts to happen naturally. The only time we really pause is when something feels off, right? Because when we're used to feeling good, all of a sudden something's off, and you're groggy morning or hangry in the afternoon, and then you're like, oh, hold on, time out. What did I do today that was that was different? And why might I be feeling this way? And what adjustments can I make there? So the beautiful part about it is that you can help a client get 80 to 90% of the way to their goals just by helping them implement this part of their practice. Meaning, before you even get into the actual education on eating and sleeping and mindset and this stuff, once they become intuitive, they'll actually, this will lead them to most of the answers on their own. Now, mix in the other stuff, and of course, now that takes the service to a whole new level. But just instilling this practice alone will get us most of the way there. And then I'm gonna have some questions for you guys here in a second, so don't worry, I want to hear from you too. But just finishing up here, when we implement intent and intuition, this now is guiding people to start to live based on feel, that they're feeling their way, right? Does this feel right to me? Does this feel like it's bringing me closer? What is my intention here? And then afterwards, how did it make me feel? Should I do more or less, et cetera? And when we start to live from this place, get out of our head and think, oh, what am I supposed to do? What did that person tell that I read online? They're saying this is better than that, and this is better than this. Instead, now we're in to this place of feel, out of our head and into our body and our heart, that's going to be the foundation to get us into this flow, into this rhythm, into the groove of lifestyle. Because we cannot punish ourselves or force ourselves to success. And many of you know this, obviously, but in the fitness space, a lot of people at the very root of their intrinsic motivation is not really motivation at all. It's punishing and force and shame and guilt, trying to, like I said, force themselves into somebody different, as opposed to feeling and allowing and intuitively guiding themselves. Okay. So once we have this baseline layer of feel, then we can start to build these functional lifestyle practices. And in the function means they're making us better every day. That we know that these 4 practices are moving us forward every single day, even if they're just little tiny steps. And when we're moving in feel and we have function, then we can start to have fun, creativity, play. We have these new outlets where we can just be at ease a little bit more. And that's when we can fall into flow, into the rhythm, into the groove. There's a reason we use these words when people describe a thriving lifestyle. They use words like groove, rhythm, flow, ease, right? It's just, this is how it happens because we're feeling our way through. So I know I see some questions come up. I'm going to, is there a way for me to see here we go. I'm going to pull the chat up before I ask you guys some questions, but cool. Tim, we'll make sure we reach out to you. Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. Awesome, guys. Yeah. If you have to leave early, just let us know that, and we'll reach out. So, whoops. Sorry, guys. Let me go back. So my question for you, I would like you guys to quickly take a moment, and I want to hear from anybody. If there's anything that you're currently working on in any of your foundational 4, nutrition, sleep, movement, or mindset, in your daily practices, can you identify anything that feels forced? So it's like you make yourself do it maybe, but you don't really love it. And more days than not, it won't happen unless you really need like discipline and willpower. Or it could be something that you don't do very often. You want to do more and you're kind of hard on yourself about it and beat yourself up about it. Or something that you've just been wanting to start or do, but just it's not coming to life. Does anyone have anything to share there? Any examples or any thoughts on that? I can't see everybody, so Jordan or somebody can maybe help me out if anyone would like to share. I can share an example quick if it'll help start you off. For me, for a big portion of my life, mobility work fell into this category of something that I just did not want to do. All of the reason I was doing it was because I was supposed to, and I knew it was good for me, but I just did not have any, I did not fall in love with the process. I could not get myself to fall in love with the process at all. And it was just coming from the wrong place. It was more of like, I have to do this because I'm not good enough, because I'm not mobile enough, because I'm all these things, all this lack. And so I still ended up doing it most days, but it was like, kicking and screaming along the way. And because of that, I had little to no progress, at least, noticeable progress that helped because it was coming from the wrong place. So does anyone have any thoughts or anything to share that's similar to that?
I can share.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So mine was sleep related for a while. I know that you talk about this often about like the wearables with like the Whoop and getting so specific about like, that sleep is important. So I got the Whoop and then it was like, my husband was like, I don't think this is working out for you because like you're waking up to check out to see how you did. And it's like, yes, you're now waiting for the grades to let you know how you did before you go on to your next day. And I was like, yeah, actually it got really frustrating where it was like, okay, I'm going to have a good sleep now. And it's like, I'm not going to sleep yet.
Yes.
So
right.
Being able to actually say, you know what, I'm ditching that. And then just allowing myself to get better sleep has been huge. And yeah, I sleep so well now.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's an awesome one because like you said, you're trying to like force something that really is, and we're going to talk about this in sleep. Sleep is an allowance. It's just getting out of the way and allowing it to happen, where we're like trying to figure it out all the time and make it happen perfectly. And then when we talk about flow, things like apps, when we have all these apps and gadgets, we're going to talk about wearables too in a second, but apps and gadgets and gizmos and all these things, they disrupt with the flow and the ease of the whole thing, right? They're just putting more things to think about, more data to analyze. And actually, I'm going to ask you guys some thoughts on that in a few moments, so I won't say too much. But yeah, that was a great share. Thank you. And then Lauren wrote here, mine is weirdly always challenging movement. I love it when I'm doing it, but it's always the first thing to fall out of my routine. Yeah. And that's funny because even in fitness, and many of us have the same thing where it's like, we know we're going to feel great. We know we're going to be glad we did it, but there's something going on there that is interfering with our ability to be excited and enthusiastic and looking forward to it and it happening easily. We call it our default setting. The default setting is to move as opposed to like having to make ourselves do it. So Lauren, one of the follow-up questions I would ask, and this would be just for you to think about, but a question that we would ask a client is then like, well, what would it look like in your mind if it was fun and easy and it didn't require any sort of like, quote, willpower or discipline or whatever, just as a thought prompt. Like if it happened easily and seamlessly every day and was just sort of fun and fulfilling and all these things, like what might look different about it than it does now? And it's good to just get that image in our mind and that picture so we can compare what that vision looks like in your mind to what you're actually doing right now and see where the lack is, where the gap is. So that's, I'd love to talk to you more about that in person. We'll leave it at that for now, just so we can move on. But yeah, it's just good to visualize the difference. So if it was fun and easy, what would it be? If it was fun and easy, what would it look like? If it was fun and easy, what would it feel like? Because that's when we're going to have success. Cool, Yvonne. I'm glad you like that one. All right. So I'm going to share this video here. Okay. Because we're going to talk about, now we're talking about flow. We're talking about rhythm. We're going to talk about just harmony and synchronization, right? So I'm going to play this little video and I'll talk through it. It's about a minute long. I'm going to talk to you as you go, but as it goes. As you can see, somebody's coming in and they're knocking all of these pendulums out of order. They're just kind of in disarray, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to think of these pendulums as the systems in your body, right? Your digestive system, your immune system, your nervous system, cardiovascular system, etc., right? And as you can see, without any outside external force whatsoever, these systems, even though they're in disarray, they're going to naturally fall back into rhythm, okay? And this is a really good example, as you can see right now, they're falling into synchronization. This is what your body is trying to do and wants to do all the time. Everything, it's always working. Nature is pulling us into rhythm, into the circadian rhythms and the biorhythms at all times. And our lifestyle habits, this is what we're going to start getting into, is our lifestyle habits do one of two things. They either aid in, they help us fall into rhythm more easily and seamlessly or stay in rhythm, or they're like the hand that comes in and just whacks them all out of place, okay? And this is like a very, very key component to this conversation today, is that most of ourselves and our clients' lifestyle habits that are holding us back are only because they're interfering with what the body wants and what it already knows how to do and already wants to do. So in other words, the body's trying to get in sync, and we're just continually knocking them out of the way. And the body's working so hard to try to stay in balance that it ends up putting us in a high stress state. The body can't keep up with things like digestion and metabolizing food and getting good sleep and down regulating stress, right? The body can't keep up with all the work because we just keep knocking everything out. So for most people, in most cases, the lifestyle practices, the habits we're going to instill, we're first going to try to eliminate things that are interfering with our body's ability to find alignment with nature. Then, only then, would we start to add other things in afterwards, right? So in most cases, we call this the do less first philosophy. So it's like, what can we do less of first? What can we take out that's interfering with what wants to happen naturally? Then sometimes we call it addition by subtraction. Then we can start to, like I said, go and strategically add things back in. But I want you to keep this visual in your mind and that principle in your mind as we continue here. So another group share for you guys question is, if we think about this idea, right, of the body wanting to happen, for these things to happen and already knowing how for it to happen, I want you to reflect on your current practices. And is there anything that you can recognize right now that might be interfering with your ability to stay in sync and to stay harmonized, and to stay in alignment and balance? So again, I can't see anybody, I can't see everybody, but is there anything that you're doing that you know is just like disrupting your sleep, or cravings, or like life schedule challenges that just seem to be getting in the way of you finding that rhythm and groove? Anybody like to share? Go ahead. I can't see. I don't know the name. You're on it looks like you have a brown tank top down. Yes, you just leaned forward. Oh, where'd you go? Okay. All right, did I lose you? Sorry, I can't see the names. All right, I don't know. Anyone else want to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
What comes up for me is cravings I can't seem to kick. So with the example, that would be like sugar. So carrot cake being for one, going to the coffee shop, getting work done, and then, the craving kicks in, knowing that I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, and like making the excuse, okay, I can have this carrot cake, and then it like throws me off, and then I feel like guilt, the next day, or the next time I go to the coffee shop, and then the craving comes again. I'm like, yes, no, yes, no.
Right. That's a great example. And, so first thing we would look at there is environment, because, you're putting yourself in an environment where you're going to have this coffee cake or carrot cake, or whatever you said, sitting right in front of you. So first thing to talk about is like, maybe there's a new place we can sit instead. The second would be to note there how you noticed, you said something about, I think you said kicking yourself or whatever. And that shame and guilt that comes with it is actually going to be more of an interference with our ability to find ease than the actual cake itself. So we would want to find a place where you're not going to be surrounded by that craving every single day. And then if you are going to indulge once in a while on a nice little treat for yourself, which would be totally reasonable as a human being, right? That you can do it from a place of acceptance, and that I'm consciously deciding that I want to have this right now as a treat for myself, and I'm not going to shame or guilt or beat myself up about it and carry that negative energy with me. So both of that's a really great example there. There would be more to discuss about it if we were working one-on-one together, but thanks for sharing that. Anyone else want to share in on this one? There's a specific answer that I'm kind of waiting for somebody to share. If you guys don't share this one, I think you're all a bunch of BS.
I will go ahead.
Yes.
I also relate to the sugar thing, but I noticed that I want it when I am feeling lonely, and I also will start scrolling the stupid social media, and I want to have some sort of connection. I've been doing great all day long, but I've been like in my books, writing all day, exercising, and I do all of these things by myself or with my dog, and all of a sudden it's like nobody's paying attention to me. I need to have some sort of interaction with somebody. Let me spend the absolutely next 3 hours when I meant to just check one thing, and boom, and it's gone. All that time is gone.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for, because I'm pretty sure now that we said it, I bet everybody here is nodding to some extent of how much social media, our phone, but specifically social media, will play that disruption. There's so many reasons. We actually refer to this as, we call it scroliosis. And we talk about how it affects us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in a whole bunch of different ways. And in this modern society, it is vital to the discussion with our clients to discuss their phone habits and start to create parameters and boundaries and strategies, really, I guess would be the word, on using their phone to optimize their life as a tool, but not to interfere, like you said, with all the other great things that we're working on. And in our modern world, I mean, it is pretty much a given that anyone that comes to you that is struggling, and also all coaches as well, are being in, that this is not, we're using it in a way that's not serving us, right? So that's a big one, and big on sleep and mindset. I mean, it really touches everything. So thanks for bringing that one up. I'm going to move on to the next part of the share here. And then a follow-up question to think about is, how much better might I feel without this, right? And, or with a slightly different approach to it, or with just some sort of simple philosophy or simple framework around my relationship with this thing. So I forget what the gentleman's name was that shared about the coffee, but a simple philosophy and framework would be something like, yeah, on Fridays, I'm going to go to the coffee shop and I'm going to have a coffee and a carrot cake, and that's cool. And like, I'm not going to beat myself up and whatever, but that's it, just on Friday, on the end of the week, you know? So how much better might I feel if I'm not having this battle every single day and getting interfered with and beating myself up and then getting guilt and all this thing? And then go out and, be honest with yourself about it. And then we would implement strategies to go out and test, to try these new parameters that we place on ourselves and see what we learn and feel that's different. And once we can actually feel the difference, then it becomes much easier, because then we can start to memorize that feeling of like, I remember that week I didn't use social media. Oh my God, it felt so good. Da, 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 da. I now have that comparison to come back to, and I can start to make decisions with that in mind. So cool. So that we're going to move on from there into the foundational four. So we're going to spend most of our time today on mindset and sleep, actually. I know you guys are a big mindset crew already. We're going to talk about just some of our philosophies. Food a little bit. It's a big overview, but as you know, nutrition is a very, very dense subject in this world, and we're going to cover what we believe is most important for now. And then movement, we're just going to touch on it really quick, and you'll see why. And then we'll talk about some implementation and give you guys some stuff to get started with. Okay, so mindset is actually, before we go, no, we're going to roll. I was going to maybe take a quick break, but no, we'll just keep rolling. If you need to step away for a second, that's fine. Mindset is, we like to look at it as the glue that holds this whole thing together, right? So our mind can be our best friend, or it can be our biggest opponent. And it actually takes practice, just like everything else. And for some people, that's a concept that is hard to understand at first. It's like, if I want to think differently and better and more clearly and more aligned and with more growth mindset, I actually have to practice and try doing that. It's not to just show up and happen one day. But when we're trying to make changes without actually changing our mindset around these things, of course, we're not going to have a lot of success there. So quick terminology, the way we look at this and the way we use is that we're going to basically, at least for today, use the words mindset and meditation from a practice standpoint interchangeably. I'll talk about some minor differences in a moment. And then mindfulness is essentially the result of those practices. So this is what you do. Mindfulness is what you have. Okay. So this is the practice, and then this is the product. So think of it like in the gym, we go and we exercise, and then we have fitness to take into our life, right? And use when life throws us challenges. So this is like the practice is setting our mind into the right frame, into the right modes, so we have the mindfulness to take with us, or so we can act mindfully when challenging situations arrive, or when negative thought patterns start to creep in, or people piss us off, or whatever it is that we're trying to work on, right? So does that make sense to you guys, right? Just to make sure I'm clear there. So yeah, like it says here, exercise is what you do, fitness is what you have. Same idea here. So when we're working with a client, the mindset, and this is something we talk about in our level 1 and 2 is how much this is attached to essentially the spiritual component, right? Of reconnecting to ourselves and getting into this creation mode where we're creating the life that we want. And it starts with clarity. Okay, so we always are going to focus on getting clarity first, like real clarity, not just like, oh, tell me a little bit about your goals. And we talk about it for 5 minutes on the first day and never really go back to it. Like real clarity, some introspective work, and start to create this vision that we can see clearly, and that that vision of ourselves, the 100%, the best version of ourselves, get to see that clearly and know now exactly what I'm working towards. And then we start to get clear on what it actually takes to get there. The things that we're going out and doing every day that we can tell are getting us closer, and start to eliminate the things that we can tell are keeping us away. And once we have this clarity, this is like it's really the starting point. This is now, like, I used the analogy the other day and I kind of liked it. It's like you get in the car, it's like now the destination is in the GPS and you've hit start. It's like, all right, there it is. Like the process has begun. For many people, they have this vague idea of this person they want to be and things they want to do better and do more of this and less of that. But it's so vague that they just don't know how to go and take action on it and how to know if they're getting closer or further. And you guys will appreciate this, I'm sure. We like to say that it's easier done than said, actually. You know, the whole expression is always, oh, easier said than done. But actually, once we can say it, we can say what we want and see it clearly in our mind and be able to put language, definitive language on it, going and doing it actually becomes much, much easier, right? Or just at least much more simple, okay? So this is an incredibly important part of the process. And then after that, now we can start to build the confidence on how to get there. The simple frameworks, simple philosophies that they can live by, that they know each day I'm going out and getting closer to this goal. And they go from this like thought in their mind, if I think I could do that, I'm pretty sure, like, I know I could be better, to like, I am doing it. I am on that journey. I'm now moving in that direction and I have confidence. Again, with simple philosophies and frameworks that are easy to live by. And then they can start to feel the control, that they're in the driver's seat, okay? We're not in control of everything that happens in the world, but we know what we are in control of. We know how to let go of what we are not in control of. And we're not dependent on other things or people or external things to get us where we need to go. We are in control of those daily practices that make us better. And start to understand that, that everything in my life, I either create or allow. And that's the feeling of control. And you know, as you all, I'm sure, know, with working with clients, most people, when they're looking for help, they're coming, they don't feel like they have that control, that full control over their lifestyle, and they're heading in a wrong direction and don't feel confident on being able to turn it around or clear on where they want to go instead. Cool. Is that, I thought it was a hand raise there. Cool. And now when we're talking about the practice side of it, one thing we're not covering too much on today, but the idea is we're not prescribing. We're not giving prescriptive, here, go do this. We're helping guide them towards what we believe will unlock inside of them what works best for them, and helping them find a process that they fall in love with. But some examples of active and passive mindset work. Active, and this is, I generally refer to active as like mindset work and passive as more meditative. It doesn't matter. But active, you know, things like mantras and visualizations and guided or focused meditations and journaling and things. And the idea is that I have time I'm setting aside time and going and working on my mindset. I'm doing this for my mind, okay? Whereas passive is going to be more of just finding some stillness and silence or solitude, or just kind of zoning out, going and sitting on a bench somewhere, or even doing things like artistic expression, music, flow, movement, walking, hiking, the stuff that we can just basically, I'm letting my mind do what it wants. I'm letting go, as opposed to going and doing something, okay? And there are two different energies here, and two different types of, different types of people will gravitate towards different ones in different circumstances, and that's all part of the guided discovery process. But the key is, if they don't fall in love with it, if they don't find the one they love, it won't stick, it won't last, and they won't have the changes. So we're just really, it's not Doesn't matter to us which one they end up falling in love with, right? We just want to help them find what they do. So some really, really basic, simple first steps to start people with. Whoops. Are one, driving in silence. For people who are they don't have a minute, they don't have to, I can't meditate, I don't have time, I have kids, you can start with commutes in silence, commuting to maybe 1 or 2 mornings a week. Then for people who think that they suck at meditation, or like, I try sitting still, but my mind is just racing and all these different things. It's like, okay, yes, that's kind of how it works. Let's just practice being physically still for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. Don't worry about where the mind goes. That's all okay. In fact, that's where the mind wants to go because it needs to work through some things. So let it go. Just practice sitting perfectly still and feeling your breath. Things like walking or running without music for once, that'll feel kind of like disguised meditation for people. They don't, from people who aren't as into it at first. Or just going and sitting, again, on a park bench at a dock in the woods, just zone out. Or journaling. And I know you guys work so much on this and how powerful the tool can be. And I know it could also be challenging for people at first, but for some people, they just need to work on releasing. And we just emphasize, just put a pen to paper once a day, just like let things out in a way that just feels releasing. For a lot of people that if they've never done that, it could be a really, really great first step. So my question for you guys then is, does anyone want to share just a short overview of a mindset or meditation practice that they have in their lifestyle that they love, that they do frequently, or, couldn't really imagine not having?
All of them.
All of them?
Pretty much.
Go ahead. Yeah. Anything like specific that stands out as a favorite, or anything you learned in starting these practices?
Flow movement and walking on the beach, no music, 45 minutes. Something we've integrated quite a lot in Enlifted, but definitely rope flow movement on the beach, and then walking 45 minutes would be my top 2, with journaling, but that's just.
So you roll ropes?
I do.
Nice.
I do.
Yes, I have my rope sitting right over there. It's it's a big part of my practice as well. But yeah, and then the movement stuff, especially because we can tune into the body and the mind can turn off a little bit. It's still going, obviously, but it's in more of a receptive mode as opposed to a solution-oriented figure things out mode. So when we're tuned into the body, the mind can receive. And that's why when we go do those sessions, we come back and all of a sudden, boom, like clarity comes through, or an idea hits us, or something we've been stressing about suddenly seems so clear because we can put ourselves in that mode. So I appreciate that share. Anyone else want to quickly share on this? And just if you do call out, just say your name quickly so I know who's talking. No?
There's some messages coming in, Brian.
Oh, I do have messages. Oh, I can't see. There they are. Cool. Sorry. Thank you, T. Looking for you. 3 things. Okay, so 3 things in the morning that you're looking forward to. So, and kind of a gratitude sort of practice, or I guess in more of an intention side, and then gratitude in the evening. That's great. So, like you said, the bookend, it opens and closes the day. That's awesome. And that act of opening and closing the day, we're going to talk about that a little bit here in sleep, in morning and nighttime rituals. But having an open and close to your day mentally as well, mentally, emotionally, all those things, is vital to having consistent daily success. Otherwise, everything just kind of blends into one. So I really like that idea. I don't know who shared it. It's like, I can't see the names of Michelle, I think, right? Pearson. Cool. We'll skip the next question out loud, but something to think about is reflecting on your practices and what do you notice when you aren't practicing these things consistently. It's good to tune in to this, to recognize the subtleties, the subtle whispers that we get from the body when we're not consistent with our practice, or we're not answering the calls from the body to say, hey, you need some time to just go be alone and be quiet and sit for a bit. And we're ignoring those. The sooner we can tune into those whispers, before they turn into loud screams, the better off we'll be. And that way it's not so much of like, I meditate every day. It's just like, I can feel when my body's asking me for some quiet alone time. And I prioritize that. Once I hear that from my body, I prioritize that day, by the end of the day, I will have that time to myself to do that. So thank you, Yvonne. Nice meeting you. All right, guys. So we're going to move into sleep next. Okay. So to be clear, when we talk about sleep, we're not just talking about, I'm in bed with the eyes closed at night, right? We're looking about how we fall asleep, how we stay asleep, how we wake up in the morning, and then really our all day energy levels. Energy in general is going to be tied to our sleep and circadian rhythm. Okay. So that means afternoon crashes, dips, all that kind of stuff is going to be reflective of our sleep patterns. Okay. So some of the most common coaching faults that we see in health and fitness, one of them is that there's a lot of education from coaches on like why sleep is important and how to make sure you get sleep and all this kind of stuff for all these reasons, but not a lot on the actual coaching of the execution. And believe it or not, people need help on like actually figuring out how to get to bed earlier and get up earlier and all these types of things in a constructive, consistent type of way. And then another fault is we gauge quality by total time. Everybody knows 8 hours, right? But there's actually more to the conversation than just total time. When those 8 hours are, what's happening during those 8 hours, how we feel, right? They play a much bigger role than just saying get 8 hours. Like we mentioned, also viewing sleep as only just the nighttime part. Too much reliant on apps or devices, or too much moving too quickly to supplements and substances without actually addressing the lifestyle factors. So like I was going to ask before, why do you think, I'd like to hear from you, why do you think we say too much reliance on apps or devices? And I think it was Jenny who shared before and kind of gave us an idea. I don't know, I think she had to run. Does anyone want to chime in on that?
I will.
Yes.
My name is Lee, and I wear a Fitbit, and one of my favorite things to do is to wake up and look exactly at how I was sleeping. It is a terrible habit to have, but I'm completely addicted to it, and I wake up, and it doesn't matter if I feel refreshed or not. It's like, oh, but does the app say that I'm feeling refreshed?
Yes. So you just exactly explained why we say you're too much reliance. And it doesn't mean like these could never be helpful in any situation. There's outlying circumstances, but what you said there sums it up. And you used the word addicted. And at the last seminar I did, somebody used the word addicted too. And I started by saying, well, the fact that you're describing it as addicted to it is probably a sign, a bad sign to start with. And like you said, you're overriding, you're getting your own intuitive feelings on how you feel, and then not really trusting them. You want the data to verify it for you instead. And that is the key component to why we don't use these very often or recommend them, is because it's creating more disconnection. Instead of you becoming more connected in how you feel and why you might feel that way, you're outsourcing all of that to some app that, even if they do work as good as everyone claims, which I could go on a little bit of a tangent about that, but I won't. Assuming they even did work as good, is never going to be the same as you being reconnected fully to your own the feelings and the whispers coming from your body about how you feel and what's working. So thank you for sharing that. That's exactly why. And then with supplements and substances, it's also like, yeah, there could be good things to use here, but in most cases, people jump to those without talking about what they're actually doing before bed and in the morning and all these types of things, okay? Which would be completely we call it stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, okay? So sleep is a surrender, okay? This is kind of the key point to take away. So like we talked about before, you don't force or make yourself fall asleep, right? You allow yourself to fall asleep. It's a passive action primarily. And just being on the circadian rhythms and in sync is a passive action. Doesn't mean we don't have to do things. It takes required effort, but like we talked about in the pendulum video, it wants to happen. The circadian rhythms are the strongest forces in nature. They literally are nature's forces and rhythms are pulling us, trying to pull us into sync at all times. We have to get out of the way. We have to let go and let it happen and eliminate the things that are interfering, like our phones and indoor lighting and caffeine and other substances at poorly timed, and mental stress and all these types of things that are just interfering with something that wants to happen. We all love sleep, right? Sleep feels great. Most of the time we only love it in the morning though, when we're supposed to be getting up. Really, we would feel that way at night if we're in the rhythm. So don't worry about what this graph says here at the bottom. I just want you to see the visual of this wave, because that's we want to be on this wave pattern. A distinct upcharge in the morning, a distinct down regulation at night, and it's a up and down, ebb and flow of life. So that's what we focus on, which we will in a second. But first, when we're out of this rhythm, this is enormously important. I'm going to keep it brief for today. When we're out of this rhythm, every single system in our body is overworking and under resting, because everything is just out of order and disharmony, right? Is the word, I guess, is out of sync, disharmonized. So all of the functions of our body it's taking extra work just to keep up with the demand. And then therefore we're not resting enough and just not being efficient, right? And we call this uphill living. So this is like, for most people that are walking around, like they can function in their daily life, but functioning in daily life is actually difficult. Like for the body, it's a lot of work. It's the equivalent of everyday life being like walking up a hill with like a big pack on, right? So yeah, it's not a huge deal at first, but then when any little thing comes up, any little sniffle, something that should just be a sniffles for a day turns into a 3 days out of work, or a hard workout, we're susceptible to injuries or massive soreness or poor recovery, or little nutritional habits that shouldn't be such a big deal end up being a big deal because our body's already working so hard that it can't keep up with this extra, right? So what we want to do is we want to help people get out of that uphill living state into this downhill flow, okay? And that the circadian rhythm is the key to that. That's why we start with sleep more than nutrition. So some symptoms of a disrupted circadian rhythm or dysfunctional sleep. In the short term, we have obviously fatigue or energy crashes, overeating. Something we talk about frequently is eating your fatigue. When you're tired and uncomfortable, your body wants comfort, it'll reach for food. Excessive weight gain, motivation slumps, mood swings, anxiousness, mind racing at night, brain fog, injuries, all these types of things. These are what people can experience in the immediate. Now, long term, over and over and over, these things turn into chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, autoimmune, chronic illness. Basically, all real illnesses have a root in circadian dysfunction. Now, what we're going to focus on now, well, this is why we start with sleep, like I said, but we actually focus on the short-term stuff more. Does anybody have an idea why we focus on the short-term more than the long-term? No? All right, I'll help you out.
Probably because you can get results, like you can stop the short-term stuff quickly, and then it'll encourage people to keep doing that to fix the long-term.
Excellently, exactly.
And the symptoms the symptoms that we can see.
Yes.
We just need to work on.
Exactly. Because all this long-term stuff, I think that was Jazzy, right, that said that? Thanks, Lee and Jazzy. All of this long-term stuff is just a result of these short-term things compounding for years, right? And the short-term stuff are things that people are already feeling in their life right now. And we can get them to feel the changes pretty quickly, like not only quickly, but like drastically different in energy levels. When people have a big shift in their energy levels, I mean, they just like, wow, I feel so good. It's just like this amazing thing. And by doing that and helping them instill those habits and memorize that feeling, they're now going to create a lifestyle that brings those feelings every day. And the long-term effects now become a non-factor because they're sleeping well, right? So, yeah. And the other part of it is that, believe it or not, as much as we care about longevity, people are not, their daily habits are not really driven by longevity as much as we want. When it comes to whether or not I'm going to eat, yes, Jazz, you know, whether or not I'm going to eat that carrot cake or, you know, stay up a little late watching one more episode on Netflix, I'm not thinking about whether or not I'm going to live to 92 or 87, right? That's not driving me in those moments. But if I can know how I'm going to feel the next morning or the next day and can feel the drastic difference, that'll be enough to make some changes. Okay. And especially, and look different too, which is obviously going to be a big part of it also. Cool. So I'll just quickly note that we're doing pretty well on time. Some of these things coming up, I'm going to move through a little faster than I would normally like to, but I want to just so I cover everything that's important. Just, you know, just letting you know. So with sleep, we talked about, instead of wearing an app or anything like that, we have our own test. We call the drift, rest, wake test. And basically what we're doing is we're asking ourselves, we're doing an intuitive check-in on how did I fall asleep? How did I stay asleep? And how did I wake up? And when we drift, it should be, you know, a couple minutes, 3 to 10 minutes of peacefully drifting to sleep. I'm not wide awake, but I'm also not just passing out the moment I hit the pillow, because that would be a sign that we should have been in bed a long time ago. Throughout the night, there's minimal tossing and turning. Maybe I wake up to use the bathroom or whatever, but I can fall back asleep. I can remember some dreams. And then in the morning, right? Again, this is a big part of the discussion. I'm not dead tired. It's okay to still want to stay in bed. Most mornings I'm like, oh man, gotta get up already. But generally within a few minutes, we should be on our feet and feeling good and not completely reliant on caffeine. Maybe we use it as part of our morning ritual, but it's not like, oh my God, I need this, or I can't even, you know, crack a smile. And really here, what's important to know is that it's a 3 out of 3. If we're missing even one of these, something's a little off, and we have to start to then evaluate. And where we would look first is what we call the 3 S's. So the drift, rest, wake is how we assess, and then we address through the 3 S's. So sunlight, stress, and stimulation. How much real light am I getting in my life compared to artificial light? Because anytime I'm getting sunlight in my eyes or on my skin, I'm becoming more synchronized. And anytime I'm under artificial light, like this light that's in my eyes right now, I'm disrupting, right? And to some extent, we have to, you know, we're going to be disrupted, but we want to see how big of a difference it really is. And the same thing with stress. Am I stuck in an upregulated? I know you guys know about this through Enlifted. Is my breath up in my chest? Am I stuck up here in this frantic, reactive kind of place and not able to downregulate? Because that's going to obviously play a big role. And then stimulation. And I put screens here too, because most of us are getting that stimulation from screens. How much am I doing? How much input am I having that's keeping me awake, especially if my mind races, especially if I can't fall into a deep sleep, okay? So again, that's sort of the fast version. But where we make it happen, the actions we take first are always in our morning ritual and our nighttime ritual. And because we like to say in the morning, a great night's sleep starts first thing in the morning. So getting on that wave is going to be something we start early and maintain throughout the day. If it gets a little disrupted, we can get back, but how we start the day is going to be reflective of how we finish. And that great morning that we want actually is going to start the night before by having a proper down regulation PM ritual that sets us up for success and proper sleep. So I'm going to move through these real fast, but common challenges that people see in the morning are they don't give themselves enough time. They don't have any sort of just simple philosophy or framework to live by in the morning. They're scrolling a lot in the morning to wake up, which is going to send into mental and emotional disarray, essentially. They're dependent on caffeine and then not moving their body. So the caffeine's waking them up, but they're not doing anything to actually wake their body up naturally. And their waking time is just not aligned with the sunrise and the time of year. And the solutions to those things are, first and foremost, a better nighttime ritual, a simple framework in the morning, not a 10-step checklist that you try to accomplish every single morning, but a couple main things that you do or do not do. Keeping your phone in airplane or off until a certain time. Having flexible wake-up times depending on the time of year or the weather. Having, like I said, more natural upcharge strategies that include movement or breath or meditation or whatever. Getting outside, and conscious caffeine use as opposed to just using that as my only thing. Again, I'm moving through these kind of quickly, but on the PM side, and by the way, if anyone wants a copy of these slides, we can have them emailed over. Just make sure you let us know in the spreadsheet. In the PM, a big part of the nighttime is that people just don't have any sort of nighttime ritual, okay? Too much indoor lighting, too much scrolling, not having a general time of I want to be in bed by. No ways of releasing and letting go of the mental stress. Because we talked about sleep being like a surrender, a let go. And if we're holding on and have no release strategies, that's what's going to keep us up at night. Late night snacking would be another one to disrupt us. And late night snacking is also another sign that body telling us to go to bed because you should be in bed. So at night, we want to have just some kind of dedicated time to winding down. This is when I start closing my day. At this time or after this event, whether it's dinner or kids' bedtime or whatever, low and warm light, a hard stop on screen time, some sort of bedtime goal or lights out goal. And the term here, HBM, is a term we use, hours before midnight. That's important. Not just how many hours of sleep you got, but how many hours before midnight is going to be a much better indication of how you're going to feel the next day. Some kind of tools to just let go of stress, even if it's things like making a task list for tomorrow, so you're not holding on to it. It's in a safe place and your mind can let go. And then of course our environment is set up for, a proper sleep environment. Okay. So let me just check the chat quick. Cool. Who said it? Having bedtime is one of the best success hacks life ever. Yes, I agree. So that's actually gonna bring me to my next question. Does anyone have anything? Well, first question is, I sort of gave it away a little bit, but we actually start by looking at the nighttime ritual first. Does anybody have any idea why we would do that? I know most people like, morning, right? But I'll let you know. So one, like we said, the morning is going to depend on the night, and everybody essentially, even if it's completely unconscious, yes, very good, Lauren. That's why, because it affects the next day. And everybody essentially has a morning routine, even if it's completely unconscious, because at some point they put their feet on the ground and they get up. At night, a lot of times people have nothing whatsoever other than all of a sudden they've stayed up until they're really tired and they feel exhausted and they're like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. And that is a disservice to the body. It doesn't allow us to properly wind down. We try to just like flick a switch and turn off, and it doesn't work. And then the next day, the morning's shot because we feel tired and sluggish and all those things. So that's why we start with the nighttime. And the question was, does anyone have a nighttime ritual that they, like anything that they do at night that they love, that they always do, that they'd like to share?
I'll share.
Yeah.
Because I talked about sleep earlier. So my husband and I, I would want us to start reading books before bed. And I was like, because personal development mode on always, all the time. He's like, dude, I'm trying to go to sleep. So we put down the personal development books because there's another time for that. And we started picking up, we started rereading the Harry Potter books. And actually recently we've been reading the books that Kobe Bryant helped to make. And those have been really fun. And so it's something that helps us just unwind, have a little bit of bedtime, read a few pages. One thing too is not having strict rules about I have to get through a whole chapter. It's just however many pages I get through, put the bookmarker because that's why they exist. and then go to bed.
Yes, that's huge. And the big part, the great thing about that too, when we're reading, our mind is going, we have to create our own images in our mind and whatever to follow the book. And as we start to fatigue, we'll feel it and we'll start to be like, all right, that enough's enough, put the bookmark in and go to bed. When we're getting stimulated, when we're reading or watching YouTube or scrolling or something instead, that's actually doing the stimulation for us and keeps us awake and doesn't allow us to turn off. So reading is great, especially like you said, if you're not going to get too caught up in personal development or things that might incite a lot of emotions and feelings and excitement that keep you all of a sudden, up again. So that's a really great share there. Thank you. That was Jenny, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. I am going to move on from this, guys, unless anyone's dying to share anything, because I want to make sure we have enough time for everything here. We are nearing the finish, but we are going to hit food quickly. And like I said, food is a very dense topic, and we do things quite differently here. To keep it simple, we don't do diets, we don't do meal plans, we don't do rigid macros. We view eating as a practice like everything else. We already do it every day, so every day is a chance to do it better and learn more and connect to ourselves and find what works for us in what types of situations. So the most important thing that you'll take away today is this part here. What you're seeing here on the screen might be confusing of why this is in nutrition, first of all, but it's a picture of my wife, and she's holding my son, Riker. She had just delivered him in the pool, actually, at home in our living room. And I share this picture because within seconds of being born, just like every other baby ever, they instinctively know to move towards the breast to be fed. And it's the first thing they do. They're out and whoa, that's the first thing, boom. And what's really interesting about this is that he's actually still connected to the umbilical cord here. So he's still being fed. And all babies are still being fed at that point. So this is one of the biggest ways we know this. There's other ways too, but this shows us that our very first connection with food, our relationship with food we're not eating in this situation. Our very first bites of food we're not eating because we're hungry. We're actually eating because we're scared. And that connection to food of being safety is deeply embedded into our bodies. Okay. And people, as we know, we are all emotional eaters. People say, well, I'm a really emotional eater. Yes, we all are, because eating is an emotional process. It's one of the main ways we show our body that we're safe, that we're provided for, that we don't need to be stressed or worried or scared. And when we are stressed and worried and scared and don't feel safe in all these things, even if it's just about, frivolous things, he said, she said, stress, money, finance, our modern things, our body, we still feel unsafe and we turn to food for that safety. And depending on how much we've conditioned and ingrained our stresses to these certain foods will depend on how hard it is to change it and how, what kinds of foods we turn to in these situations. Let's quickly read the chat. Cool. Thank you, Jazzy. And so that's the key takeaway there, because food tells us, like I said, we are safe, and we feel most safe when we're being nourished by our mother, just like a baby here, right? Nourishment is a two-way street. Both parties are benefiting. When Brianne, my wife, is feeding Riker, she's not a victim here. She's not sacrificing. She's not at a loss. That connection is just as much for her that it is for him. And the way we can find that safety is being nourished by, may sound a little hippie woo, but being nourished by Mother Earth, by that connection to that's what provides us. And there's a reason why every civilization in the history of mankind has referred to Earth in the feminine format. Is because it is the provider of this nourishment. So as we connect to that Earth through whole foods, specifically local seasonal foods with light and water and all these things, it tells our body we're safe. It tells our body we're provided for. that we can relax, we can down regulate, we can lower our stress, and we can feel emotionally well and balanced. Okay. And that information, this is from our level 1, that is information to the body. Food is how we inform the body what's going on. So I think we're actually going to have to close that there, nutrition for now, to just plant that seed just based on where we're at. I will say this though, the idea is to learn how to eat in a way that supports our emotional needs, not numbs our emotional needs or escapes them, right? Because eating is emotional, but most of us are eating to escape the emotional feelings as opposed to support them, okay? So we eat things that make us forget that we feel bad instead of actually feel good. And then the other things we focus on how we eat. We'll send these slides over, guys. I'm just going to just for time. But most of your clients, this is big, is most of the problems with nutrition can get filed into one of 3 categories. It's either an education problem, an execution problem, or an empowerment problem. They think either I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do it, or I can't do it on my own. And identifying where that is first and foremost before we start to hand them, do this, don't do that. Where's the problem and how can we start to rebuild this connection so they have a good education, they feel like they can go out and get it done every day, and they are empowered on their own to feel like they are in control and not reliant on their nutrition coach or the meal plan or whatever it may be. So going to keep that super, super brief. Food stories is a hot topic with my nutrition clients. Yes. Food stories. Yeah, that's awesome, Kimberly. I'd like to hear more how you approach that also, because that's interesting to me. Cool. Thank you. So I am, like I said, going to move through that. There's a little drill here that we're going to skip for today. One thing about movement, and I know when we work with fitness coaches, we like to assume that the movement part is pretty dialed in, but what we also are focusing on is the movement outside of the gym and creating an active lifestyle. And an active lifestyle isn't just about how much you move every day. It's about the mindset and the viewpoint, the perspectives you have around building movement into your life. Okay. So even if you go to the gym every day, doesn't mean you have an active lifestyle. An active lifestyle is someone who's moving through their life, looking for opportunities to challenge their body in different ways, different every day, and prioritizing the default settings is to keep the body in motion and keep that momentum building. Okay. So integration. I want to give you guys some things to walk away with here, and we'll close up. About less than 10 minutes, guys. I know some of you have to run, but love for you to hang on because, like I said, we have an announcement coming too. So integration. How can we start to take some action? Well, it depends. You all work with different types of clients, different types of realms, and whatnot. So we'll keep it general. But if you do have fitness clients or you work in a gym, the first thing is to start to shift the culture. And it's not going to be hey, I watched a seminar the other day, and now we're changing everything we're doing overnight, right? It's starting to just have different conversations and just emphasize these things more, and start to create this impression that we're going to start having conversations that go beyond just the physical exercise part. We're going to start to look at this as a holistic approach. Okay. So that's one. And then start to share your journey always, whether you're just getting started, whether you're having success or struggling. They're both. In fact, the struggles I think are more important to share sometimes, so people can relate to where you are, what you're working on, the commitment that you have, start to see that you're the type of person that they can trust is also on the path with them, also out there fighting these battles every day and being honest and open about what's working and what's not. Okay. Also, look, listen, and feel. I like to say your eyes, ears, and heart are your best assessment tools. So, and you guys know with the language, like, what are they really saying when they talk to you about how they're feeling and what's going on? If they come in like, oh man, life is, are they just venting? Are they asking for help? Are they showing signs that they could use help in other areas? And start to ask more questions and find out. And then, of course, your own, we call these the 3 X's of becoming an expert on yourself: explore, experiment, and experience. So go out, find new things, try new things, and then learn through that experience what works, what doesn't, and what and build your practices. That's what's the story behind? Yes. Wait, hold on. Sorry, Jazzy. I'm not sure is that a question or statement? What's the story behind it? You're talking about with the food? What's this?
I think he's saying like when you're asking like look, listen, feel, what are they really asking for? What is the story behind the feeling that they're talking about here? Like go with that extra layer.
Exactly. Yes. Sorry, I didn't say, but yes, exactly. What is their energy telling you? What are the words saying? What is the energy telling you? What can you sense in them on the story that's going on? So we can start to, like I said, intervene in a professional way. And then start with sharing anything you already do that helps you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in these ways. Because I'm sure you all already have things that you do in each of these realms that help. Start by sharing. There's somebody that can benefit in some kind of way. And then you can start to establish authority and credibility as a leader and a trusted resource in this realm. It's hard to just show up one day and say, I'm going to be able to help with all of these things. But if you were to continue learning from us and as you continue experimenting, to share in live time. And the last thing I'm going to ask you guys, I always ask this question to coaches at the end, and I could go on and on and on about this, but like I mentioned before, in this modern society, we're all facing these basically same lifestyle challenges to different degrees, but we're experiencing it in our own lives, in our own homes, and the people around us that we know and love, family, friends, and clients. And in overwhelming majority, a lot of people are losing these battles, we're losing these challenges. And they might not be full-blown health problems, diseases yet, but we know what they will turn into over time. And unfortunately, the scope of fitness ends in many cases is too small, I think. But a lot of the challenges we're dealing with, they don't really qualify as medical conditions. And even if they did, it's very debatable on whether or not they're going to get the right help they need in the medical field anyway. So there's a lot of people that are facing a lot of different things. It may seem little, but compounding over time can make drastic changes in their life. And I firmly believe that if we don't step up, then I don't know who will. Who's a better fit than fitness professionals I'm going to say coaches today, right? Because we have the freedom, we have the ability to teach in real time, we don't have the restrictions, we've built trust in our clients, we have clients who know us, like us, and trust us, and are looking to go further. And they look at us as influential figures and leaders in their life. And we need to step into that role, step into those shoes, start to take it further, even if it's just the basic first steps. All right. So that's my little question for you guys all to think with, I like to send everybody off with. And if you are interested in stepping into those things in a bigger way, we have obviously our certification process, our O23 Holistic Lifestyle Specialist. We call it the most complete professional in fitness. So it's a level 1, 2, and 3 steps. Obviously, level 1 is what we would talk about first. And it's a 2-week masterclass. And in that 2 weeks, you're going to have an in-depth education on all of our principles and systems. So much more in depth than we went to today. You'll leave with tools and skills to begin expanding your own service beyond the gym walls and your own journey right away. And you'll have teachable lessons on all of the things we mentioned today that your clients have never heard before. Unique solutions to the problems that they all have, the problems everyone's trying to address, but it would be unique solutions that only you would have. So you'll be speaking a different language. It's 2 weeks, Monday through Thursday. There's a video each day, about 20 minutes on each of these topics. At the end of the week on Fridays, although you'll see some, this is called Fridays for now. There's a group call to talk about everything you're learning. So we have one to kick it off, one at the end of week 1 and one at the end of week 2. And you'll have your tools for your immediate use. There's some bonus content, and then you'll have lifetime access to all of the content. And then again, you can expect an entirely new perspective, a jumpstart for your own journey. This is important because we're starting with ourselves first. Ability to assess and address higher level problems. Ability to also differentiate yourself from other coaches as someone with a specialized area of expertise. There'll be a very healthy amount of personal and professional challenge. You're not going to blow the doors off your own, scope of practice. And it's going to be a very unique and inspiring experience, very unique experience in this industry. So previously, this course was $500. We just decided, and you are the first people to hear this publicly, that this version of our level 1 course is actually going to be free for qualified coaches. Okay. And the reason we did this is because we want these tools and this knowledge and these skills in the hands of the coaches who are out there who are serious and determined about making change in the lives of their clients. Okay. And we were able to do that. We've been enrolling coaches now for a few years, but with the way the world is changing and just what people need and to what degree they need, I wasn't fully satisfied. I wanted to get this in more hands and more of the right people and start to go out and make real change. So what I mean by qualified is that 1, you're determined to play a bigger role in the lives of your clients and the healing of our society in general. That you're tired of sitting on the sidelines and watching these things happen without feeling like you really have a voice or have tools to play a role. 2 is that coaching, a little typo there, sorry. Coaching is your primary career focus, okay? That this is what you do primarily in your career, in your focus. And 3 is that you're already confident in your abilities to provide professional level coaching in the gym. So if you feel like you have that down, it is your career focus and you are ready to play a bigger role, then we would love to have you in our cohort. And we have 2 cohorts kicking off in July. One is going to be on Fridays at 3:30. The calls here are 1st, 8th, and 15th, a 60-minute call each with the group, or Mondays at 12:30 Eastern. And these are the 3 dates. Like I said, we just announced it publicly, but we already had a few people reach out this week. So we did lose a few. We have 2 spots taken in this one already, but that's it so far. I do have 2, this seminar and 2 more within the next week. By the end of that, I expect these to be full. So what we're going to do right now is Jordan here is actually going to share his call calendar into the chat. And this is a quick 15-minute qualifier call to hear about your vision of your career, where you're at, where you want to go, and why you want to learn from us and take these tools to your clients. If it sounds like a great fit, we're going to enroll you in one of the cohorts right there on the spot. So I'd encourage you guys to open it up. Maybe not schedule it right now if you have to look tight, but as we close up here, keep that handy. I would say book a call as early in this week as you can if you're interested in one of those spots, and we can enroll you in that cohort, like we said, for free. So even though it is free, we are going to expect you to be there. You are taking a seat. All we're going to want to know is that you're committed and that you're in and you're ready to rock. So yeah, like Jordan said, we'll also email that link. No problem, Jenny. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I want to quickly open, I know we're a few minutes over. Kim, is it all right if we open up for a few questions, or did you have, okay. So I want to open up to see if anyone has any questions about anything we covered, the level 1 specifically, or anything like that. I know I rushed a little bit at the end, so if I missed anything. Thoughts, general thoughts are cool too. If anyone has anything to chime in.
Yeah, great presentation, Brian. And that's a big give back to the community for the offer that you guys have.
Awesome. Thanks, Jazzy. I appreciate it. Now, are you in the, how did you find us? Are you in the Enlifted program?
Yes, I am. And we had a chat recently, I believe. I think it's all Brian or Jordan.
Yeah, Jazzy and I spoke, would have been a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
We were on a call a little bit ago, so he's been around. Yeah, good to see you, man.
Cool, Jazzy. I appreciate that. Awesome. Anyone else like to chime in anything in here at the end before we start closing up, before we do close up?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Really cool presentation. I resonate with a lot of what you shared, like really integrated a lot of some of the stuff into my own lifestyle already. So like seeing this presented in such like a professional manner, it was really cool. That got my mindset around if things that I've already integrated and feel so natural to realize again, like these things that as coaches that we embody so easily, like forgetting that the clients, it's not known to them. That information bias that we have, that knowledge bias. Once you know it, you kind of think everybody else knows it, but it's kind of the opposite.
Exactly.
Take out kind of.
Right. Yeah. Soft talk, right? Yes. So thank you. Yeah, you're exactly on. You hit it right on the nose there, and I appreciate you sharing that and tuning in. Where are you from, Daniel?
The accent is from South Africa.
South Africa. Oh, interesting. I knew it wasn't American. I just couldn't quite figure it out. Awesome. I appreciate you tuning in all the way from South Africa. On that note, that also reminded me as you're talking, what we'd love for you guys to do too is if this resonated with you and you think someone else, another coach would benefit from this also, either from the workshop or from the certification or anything, please connect us on Instagram, send them to us, and we could get them a copy of this, or we're going to be doing some other ones, or talk about the cert also as well. So appreciate you all. And thank you to Larissa and Kayla who chimed in there. Demetrius, thank you. Jenny, no problem. Thank you. Any other last thoughts or questions before we close up? Well, I want to thank you too, you all also, I should say, for tuning in and sticking with me. I hope, like I said, I hope you guys got a lot out of this and are able to walk away with some tools to use right away. And I would be very excited to continue working with anyone on here and just continuing to use this as a launching pad for a much deeper dive into this exploration. So thank you, Kimberly, again, for making this all happen. Thank you guys for all showing up.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. This is awesome. It's even, for me to hear it, keep repeating it. I'm loving it. And you're going to have an influx of Enlifted coaches taking you up on that level 1. So those of you that are already on the call, get the call book with Jordan, because everybody else in the network's going to steal it too. Yeah. You got the dump on your live.
I really wouldn't hesitate. I expect it to be waitlisted quickly, and I don't want you guys waiting around too long. Also, make sure if you didn't sign in, there's that Google Doc at the top of the chat to sign in with your information. So we'll email a follow-up with the recording and stuff like that, and any other questions, so you have everything you need. All right, guys?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate you. Look forward to talking more. Find us on Instagram too. Just follow us so we can all connect and share on the journey.
Bye, guys.